Hi, everyone. Welcome back to East Coast Haunts. I'm MK.
And I am Sam.
And today we have something that's a little outside our usual repertoire. It's not quite a haunt, but if you're already a Patreon, you know that we've been doing our Halloween Horror Nights exclusive Patreon episodes where we do a deep dive into all the scare zones, the background of our icon for this year, and also a look into each one of the houses. So we figured that we would release our hype lists, as they're called, to kind of garner a little bit more support for our Patreon. If you are thinking that you might want to join, now is a great time because right before Halloween Horror Nights opens, which is in a few days, we're releasing all of our reviews and everything you need to know before going into these houses, into these scare zones. We're giving you the background of the event, where to go, what to eat, when we'll be there, so you can come find us, get a little friendship bracelet and some bracelets, a friendship, I already said bracelet, some stickers.
Yes.
Very excited about those.
Yes.
And in addition to all of that, you also get access to our previous series, which was a review of classic horror movies, some not so classic horror movies, what we thought, what our ratings were. And now we're just kind of doing the same thing with the Halloween Horror Nights houses to get you guys all ready for this year's event. And in this episode, which is available to the public, we are going to be doing a brief ranking of each of our scare zones and each of our haunted houses. So let's start off with the scare zones because I've been told that hype lists are kind of like a Halloween Horror Nights tradition for junkies, and I just want to preface this by saying um it's not like which houses we think are going to be best. It's just the ones that we are most excited for. So our rankings might be different than a lot of the other rankings that you may or may not have heard out there because we are I've only been to the event once. Sam has never been, and we are kind of Halloween Horror Nights rookies, but
We are.
we're looking to get into the scene and you know what? Maybe provide a little bit of a fresh perspective from people that haven't been there, done that.
Exactly. We're the perfect listen, we've done a ton of research on the lore and
Probably
on
too much.
we also, you've only been there once and I've been there no time. So we offer an interesting perspective, I would like to think.
I agree because ours is all like research based. I have a little bit of an idea what to expect, but really and truly, I'm going into this blind. So, without further ado, let's talk about our rankings of the scare zones. So, just a brief overview. These are in no particular order. We have our icon of the year is Dr. Oddfellow. So, all five scare zones, which are not houses, but they're areas in the park that scare actors will jump out at you. It's decorated to fit a certain theme. So all of these are actual areas in the park that you don't have to wait in line to enter. There's no facades. It's just kind of like a themed area where you can expect a jump scare here and there.
I love it.
So our zones for this year follow the story of our icon, who is our main villain that the event is based around, Dr. Oddfellow. So we start off in the front of the front lot, with Dr. Oddfellow's Collection of Horror, which is kind of like an introduction to the character. It's like a table of contents for the event. We have Jungle of Doom, which is in the Central Park area of the park, and that tells the story of sort of Dr. Oddfellow's origins, where he found his source of power. Shipyard 32, which is in San Francisco, and the tagline for that is Horrors Unhinged. Vamp 69, Summer of Blood in New York, which is supposed to be like a 60s themed music festival that's been overtaken by vampires. And Dark Zodiac, which is based off of the Zodiac realm that Dr. Oddfellow has harnessed a lot of his powers from, and that's in the Hollywood area of the park. Now, I know that this lore might seem a little overwhelming to those of you who don't know Halloween Horror Nights, have never heard of Dr. Oddfellow, and that is where our Patreon comes in because we explain every single detail of his backstory, everything that we know prior to the event, and you get it all for the price of a cup of coffee a month. You can join for as little as $3. I think our highest tier is $10, but you can really do anything in between there. And all you have to go is www.patreon.com/East Coast Haunts and hit become a patron. And now let's talk about our rankings. So the way we're going to do this is we're each going to start with our number 5 slot and work our way up to our number 1. So Sam, what scare zone do you have in your number 5 slot?
In my number 5 slot, I have Shipyard 32.
Okay.
Yep. And do you want me to explain why, or do you want to tell me what's in your slot first?
I think you should explain why first.
There's just something that, and I could be proven wrong, it just doesn't sound that exciting to me. I had an internship in college where I I made a lot of graphics that had giant shipping containers in them. I will not be going into any detail. So I spent a lot of time looking at photos of shipping containers, like trying to find the perfect graphic to go with my text. So I'm just like, I'm sick of shipping containers. I know there's gonna be something spooky and there're gonna be weird creatures crawling out of it, but it's just I'm not that hyped for it. So it's my number 5.
That's very fair reasoning.
Thank you.
My number 5 personally is Collection of Horror, just because it's in the very front of the park, which I remember the only other Halloween Horror Nights I've been to was Halloween Horror Nights 30. And in that year, it was 30 Years, 30 Fears was the theme of the scare zone. And again, it was just kind of like, it's crowded in that front lot. You don't really get to absorb like a whole lot of the like the ambiance. But again, people have been saying like there's a stage up, so we might have like a Dr. Oddfellow that is interacting with the crowd. So that does make me excited for it. But I do have to say, them describing it as a quote unquote table of contents for the event just kind of makes me feel like, compared to the others. Exactly. Compared to the other scare zones, I don't think this one's going to blow me off my feet, but it will be fun to meet Dr. Oddfellow.
Agreed.
All right.
Okay.
Take us away with your number 4
spot.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my number 4 spot is going to be Vamp 69.
Interesting.
I know that's probably going to be a lot of people's number 1 pick. And I know this is stupid. I hope I don't get like roasted for my reasoning because all my reasoning is very superficial, but I didn't know how else to do it. So I think music festivals are kind of boring. Like they're not my scene. Like the 70s is just like, or I guess 69 technically. I don't know. I'm just thinking hippie. I'm thinking vampire. I can see where it's fun, but it doesn't have the spook factor. And as we go through this list, you'll see that the spook factor is very important to me. So that's my reasoning.
I know I like your reasoning because I think that's where our podcast is unique in the fact where we don't have like a whole lot of like past year experience to base this on. So we're going strictly based on this theme, right? We're going strictly based on what Universal has released. So I like your reasoning personally. My number 4 spot is Shipyard 42 or 32. Because I'm drawing on past experience again, even though I just said that's why. But that San Francisco area is very narrow, and I've heard a lot of people say that it can get bottlenecked, and that was personally the location of my least favorite scare zone last time. So I don't love it. I have heard that they are taking old like monsters that have been featured in past years, which we've done our research, we'll be able to recognize them. I think the year that I was there, the Revenge of the Tooth Fairy was a house, and I've heard rumors that there may be tooth fairies in this zone, which I'll be very excited to see again. Because they're kind of funny looking, but Yeah, I'm excited for this. They apparently drew inspiration from Hellblock Horror, which was another house or scare zone, I believe, in past years. But I am excited to see kind of like a mishmash of monsters, some of which are going to be Easter eggs, some of which are going to be the classic Universal monsters that we know and love. So, but again, for the reason that I think it's going to be really crowded and for the fear that I might not get all the references, it's fallen to number 4.
I think that is a very fair reasoning.
Thank you.
Especially that bottleneck. I'm a little bit nervous about that because I feel like that will ruin some jump scares, but I guess we'll have to
Agreed.
wait and see, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, number 3, I put, and I'm a little bit surprised at myself. I did Jungle of Doom for number
Okay.
3. I think that giant bat that I keep seeing all over TikTok
Yes.
looks super cool.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why it's like kind of up there. I love like the theme is giving like very much Indiana Jones vibes to me.
I agree.
And I have to say I'm overall I'm very excited for it. I think it's gonna be really cool. I think there's gonna be lots of cool jungly spooky elements. So that's the one I'm kind of like I'm excited for it. I'm not like shouting from the rooftops, but I think it's gonna be a fun one.
My number 3 is also Jungle of Doom, which I shocked myself by putting it there because I am a self-proclaimed nature girly. I love anything nature. I'm a jungle girl through and through.
Yes,
But
I know. I'm kind of shocked.
I know there's just 2 more zones that I think I'm more excited for based on what I've heard. And so, like you said, a lot of the decorations in that area of the park have proven to be really, really cool. We get a simulated plane crash, which is pretty neat. I've been seeing. I know it's pretty cool. And that prop apparently has been used like in the opening of Universal movies. So it's a long time prop. We got some like rats roasting over a fire, which is very Shrek-esque.
It's very Shrek.
It's very Shrek-esque. And Shrek was one of my childhood fears, so if it's anything like Shrek, we know that this is going to be a scary zone. Just kidding. But I do have to say the last time that I was there, it was a very similar theme. It was called Gorewood Forest. So it was like a forest theme, which I kind of think is like maybe this is like the nature outdoorsy zone typically, but
Right.
Jungle of Doom is my number 3. I'm very excited for it, but unfortunately I couldn't put it higher than that.
Fair enough. And I like how we agreed on one of them. I think that's fun.
Me
I'm
too.
interested to see. We're about to find out if we agreed on number 1 or not
I
because
think we
there's
did.
one that we both haven't. So number 2 for me, I did Collection of Horrors because
Right.
I'm just kind of picturing I know you said this was like kind of at the beginning of the like when you first walk into Universal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm picturing like the 3 ring circus carnival spooky creepy sleazy ring man vibe, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
like which I think that the carnival stuff can be like so creepy and like I don't want to say I don't know what like the proper term is nowadays because I know they used to call it like freak show, like American Horror Story freak show, like I loved that season. So like I just think that I'm like picturing it like that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for this one. So I had to do number 2. But I
I
guess we'll
love
see.
that.
We'll see how it goes.
I love it. Even though I put that last, like I'm still so excited for it. I'm just
Exactly.
excited to see everything. I'm so excited for this year. So my number 2 is Vamp 69, which means that we do have the same number 1. Vamp
That's so
69.
funny.
I know. I knew it though. I knew it was going to be your number 1 and I had to put it at
Yeah.
number 1. But back to Vamp 69, there's a big stage, so we might get some like on stage performers, like some live music going on, which would be really cool to see. I think that the like 60s colors are going to be a great like switch up from the dark overall theme of the event. I think it's going to be a great photo op, which is again very exciting. I have seen that there's like a reference to Jimi Hendrix in there, so we might get like a Jimi Hendrix like performer, which would be really cool.
Oh, I didn't even think about the fact that there might be like actual music.
Yeah. So, and I really liked the Discover Universal's podcast for this event or for this scare zone, I thought that was
The
really,
lore, the story
yes,
behind it.
the lore
Yeah,
behind
that
it.
was
I thought it was really cool. We have a VW bus that's like decked out like it's going to a music festival. I just think the ambiance in this zone is going to be unmatched, even though I'm more excited for our number one.
I
So
like that. I think that's a really good way to look at it because I
thank
honestly
you.
was just thinking like, oh, it's not really that spooky, but like it's completely different from all the other zones, which I think makes it special.
Plus, I think it is
So,
in a great location in the park. It's in the New York area, which if you can picture it, it's by like the Mummy and Jimmy Fallon ride all down
okay,
that
that's
stretch.
okay. So it's in a good chunk of land.
Exactly. So our number one is
So
the same.
yes, we have the same one. We both picked Dark Zodiac. I want to hear your reasoning first.
Okay. So I even though I might not fully believe that like the stars have an influence on our personalities, I do love a good zodiac moment. I just think it's really fun. I also love the whole lore with Dr. Oddfellow harnessing the power of the zodiac and how he's twisted each zodiac to be a twisted version of themselves, like a gory version of themselves. I am personally a Leo, and I'm very excited to see what's done with like the fire signs and also with like the lion and how that's represented. I also love the Hollywood area of the park. I think it has a really good flow. So I think they're going to be able to do a lot with this, especially because it's kind of almost like a steampunk vibe from what I've seen from what's released online. And there's theories that there's going to be like actual water like falling on the water sign stage and like fire shooting from the fire sign stage. I think that this zone, if done well, and I have full faith that Universal will do it well, is going to blow our minds.
I I think that pretty much sums it up. I just think that it's so creative. It's so smart because people are so into the zodiac sign stuff, like so into it.
Yeah.
And it was just I just feel like I'm like that's something that I never would have thought to myself, like, ooh, like let's make the zodiacs creepy. But it's so fun. It's such a good idea. I can't wait
It's
to
a
see it.
great idea.
Um, I also just want to say really quickly, I am a Scorpio, so
Yeah,
I'm
you
interested to
are.
see how they do that. But every time I hate when I get those like TikToks or like little graphics with like which one you'd be as like your sign, because I always get the one it's like you're the moody goth that doesn't trust anybody and has no friends, and I'm like, okay, I feel as if this is not completely true. Like they always do Scorpios so dirty. I'm like, maybe the majority of Scorpios out there are like biker
I
chicks and stuff, but
disagree. No, I disagree with that. Every single Scorpio I know, like, I have to think that, and this is not like me gassing you up, Scorpios are my favorite. They tend to be like my favorite sign other than Leo.
thank
You're
you.
welcome. My
Of
boyfriend
course.
is a Scorpio. Some of my best friends are Scorpios. I think that it's a cool zodiac and I think they get misrepresented a lot of the time.
Yes, I'm like I just do not understand like the I don't know, but it's gonna be so this is gonna be the coolest. I'm so excited for this scare zone. I think
Oh,
it's
me
gonna be
too.
awesome.
I also just want to ask you really quickly, do you think you just kind of talked to it a little bit, but like, do you think you embody your zodiac at all?
There are certain I think there are certain aspects. I know they say like they're like passionate. And I like to think I'm like passionate about the things I care about. That's
Okay.
like the most generic statement
No,
ever.
you
Like I
are.
think about what they care about. But um and I do think that there was one that said like, oh, like they hold grudges. And I do think that I tend to hold grudges. Um so those are two things that I'm actively working on, but but like two things that I do think are kind of similar to my actual personality. But honestly, otherwise, like I don't really know. I feel like I have to
Okay.
do more I honestly have to do more research into it.
Well, we'll do some more research for the pod and maybe
So what
release a
about you?
Patreon. So I said I'm a Leo. I definitely think that there's some parts that I'm like, Yeah, definitely. Like, I think I'm a super loyal person, which not to like toot my own horn, but I think that's one of my better qualities. But
Right, yeah.
sometimes they're like, oh, Leos are like so self-absorbed. And
You're
think I,
not self-absorbed at all.
I don't think I really am.
All.
I'm trying to work on my confidence, which is like the key part of like the Leo zodiac. So I tend to
Right.
think I'm a pretty confident person, but not to the extent that the zodiac thinks that I am. So
Yeah. Not to
we'll
the
see.
extent that they're implying up there.
But I do
I'm
like
excited to
the
see your
lion. I think it's like a cool thing to represent me.
You're gonna heal me. Oh,
I thought you were gonna start singing the Lion King. It's a song
oh that
of
was
life. All right. All right. Before we get down too dark of a rabbit hole,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
let's move on to the houses for this year. We've got a great lineup. I'm going to list them in no particular order, but I am going to split them up into intellectual property houses, of which we have five. So that's stuff that Universal doesn't own, but they collaborated with the content creators and got their rights to use for this house. So those are
Okay.
typically like the bigger franchises. And then they have five houses that are of Universal's own creation, own storylines, original characters. They come up with lore for these houses and they release them on the Discover Universal podcast. So if you're going to the event, would highly recommend go listening to that podcast. On our Patreon, we do dive into some of the lore that they talk about on that podcast, but then we also dive into some of the speculation for the houses. So you're getting a little bit of the best of both worlds there. But let's start with the IP houses. So our big heavy hitters for this year are Stranger Things 4, which I'm not going to give anything away for my hype list. Very excited for that house.
Yep.
We've got Chucky Ultimate Kill Count, Exorcist Believer, The Last of Us, and Universal Monsters Unmasked. And then for original houses, we have Yeti Campground Kills, Blood Moon Dark Offerings, The Darkest
Yay.
Steel, Dueling Dragons Choose Thy Fate, and Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins.
Sorry, you paused for a second. If there was an awkward pause, that was my bad.
It's all good. So
You
Sam,
start with your number 10.
okay. I have a feeling that our number 10 might be the same. I don't know why. Call it a weird hunch. But first of all, tell me, is your number 10 an IP or an original?
My number 10 is an IP.
So is mine. Okay.
Okay.
It's
Probably the same one.
it's probably my number 10 is Exorcist Believer.
No,
It's not the
no.
same. Okay,
So
then
close. So close.
so then my number 9 is I think your number 10.
Yeah,
But
I struggled about which to put. Okay, tell me your reason.
okay. So I will go on record in saying that I think that the original Exorcist is one of the scariest horror movies that has ever been made. It scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, scares the crap out of me now. I am very, very, very hesitant to put this house any higher than 10 because I don't want to be disappointed. And I think it's going to be very tough to judge this house because when we are going to Halloween Horror Nights, the movie will have been out for one day and we probably will not have seen it. So I'm a little bit scared that A, we're not going to get the references, and B, the house is going to spoil the plot line for us. So
That's a really good point.
that's my reasoning. I do think this house has the potential to be one of the scariest houses of the year.
Yeah, I agree with that. And my reasonings for ranking it also pretty low on the list are very similar.
Okay. What's your 10?
My number 10, my number 10
I know what it
is Chucky It's Chucky Ultimate Kill Count. Honestly, like at the end of it, like yes, I struggled between which of these to put as my last one, but then I was like, you know what? Like Chucky is annoying as hell. Like I do not like Chucky. I've not seen any of the movies. I honestly don't really care to see any of the movies. It's just not my vibe. Like he reminds me of like Eric Cartman, but like less funny. Like I just think he's so obnoxious. So Chucky, I'm like, I don't want to deal with him. I don't really find him scary, to be completely honest. I
Fair.
guess he's supposed to be funny, right?
Yeah, he's supposed to be like funny. It's supposed to be like a funny slasher, I think.
Yeah. He's just I don't something about Chucky ticks me off, and I just don't think I'm gonna be scared. I think I'm gonna be annoyed at him. So
Okay,
that's why I rated him number 10.
that's very fair. My number 9 is Chucky's Ultimate Kill Count. So, so, so I have a lot of the same reasons that you do, and that is that I have never seen Child's Play, which I know is probably shocking. I'm going to watch it before the event, but my whole reason for ranking it this low is that it's not even based off of Child's Play. It's based off of the TV show. And then they're
I
adding
didn't even know it was
yeah, it's I think on Peacock. Which I was like, maybe I'll try to watch a season before we go. We got time.
okay.
We'll see where the spooky season takes me. I have a lot of other things higher on my priority list, to be fair though. Um
Chucky.
than Chucky the TV show. But I do have to say, without spoiling too much of the stuff that we're going to go into on our Patreon, they are adding sort of like a very meta aspect to this house, which I think if it's done right, it could be really, really cool. And it could be like, do I think I'm going to be scared by this house? No, probably not, because Chucky does not scare me. I'm going to get a few good jump scares. I know I am. But
Yeah.
I do also want to say, like, they were kind of toying around with the idea that maybe there might be plants in the line that are going to get taken and executed during the house, which is kind of cool. Um, which is pretty neat. Um, so that's, but it's again, I have no connection to Chucky, this character. And he doesn't scare me. So
He doesn't do it for me.
me either. So he's my number 9.
And my number 9, similar to, ours were just flip-flopped. My number 9 is Exorcist.
Very good.
Possessed little kids would scare me in real life. However, I'm going into it knowing that it's fake. I don't even know if there are going to be real possessed little kids, because I don't think they can hire little children, right? Like that sounds
No,
illegal.
there'll definitely be scare actors portraying these kids, I think.
Okay. I think that demonic possession is so scary. Like that's the scariest thing ever to me. So I think I'm going to be super, super scared in this one. But I have not seen the movies. I barely know anything about them. So that's why I'm not really as excited for this one. However, I do plan to watch the first movie, so I think that after that, this is going to probably go way up higher on my list.
I love the first movie. I can't speak to any of the other Exorcist series movies because I have not seen them, but something tells me that they're probably not as good as the original.
Right.
I do also have to say that Chucky Ultimate Kill Count might be a good house to start out with and like ease our way into the event.
I like that. I very much like that. I think that's a great idea.
I think that would kind of be a good starter house for us. But now moving on to 8, and this is my first original house, and I kind of hate that I had to put it this low, but looking at the list, there were just so many more that I was a little bit more excited for. This is one of those houses, though, that when we go back and do our ranking after we've been to the event, I know that this is going to be probably in the top half of my houses, and it is The
Ooh.
Darkest Deal.
We have the same number 8.
Do we really?
Yes, we do.
That's so funny.
Okay, tell me your reasoning.
So my reasoning is this is sort of like a Devil Went Down to Georgia house where a young music collector sells his soul. for fame and money. And I am very excited to see the sets for this house. I think it's set in like Louisiana, like this deep south, and I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see if like blues music, like jazz music plays a big part in this house because I think that could be a really cool part of the sound design. But I'm also the storyline doesn't excite me as much as some of the other houses, and I do think that it could get overshadowed by some of the other houses.
I completely agree with everything you say. That's also the reason that I put it at number 8. I'm like, I know that it could be really cool. It has a ton of potential. I think like the seedy showbiz thing is
Yeah.
so interesting. And I kind of picture us like running through. It's like you're trying to like escape the devil, like, because like
Yeah.
you made this ever. I think it's a very, very, very creative concept that could be awesome. And I think it will be definitely fun. But like you said, I'm just like there are other ones that I'm way more excited about, so I couldn't give it a higher ranking.
I agree. I completely agree. I think this house has the potential to move up so high. And I just do want to make this point again that there's not a single house on this list that I'm not excited for. I'm
Of course.
excited for every single house on this list. But in terms of ranking, someone's gotta be in the bottom three or the bottom three. So why don't you give me your number 7 first?
All right. Okay, my number 7 is what's the opposite of an IP? Original
Original?
content. So this is another original. I wonder if we're gonna have the same number 7.
Yeah, I think
I,
so.
I have Yeti Campground Kill.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
mine.
Okay. So I think that this one is going to be cool because it's not really like the traditional spooky aspect, which I know I said that I love, but this one I think it's going to be scary in a different way. I think it
Mhm.
might be a little bit gory. I'm not huge into gore, um, but I don't care. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be I don't want to say silly, but like I also don't want to say camp, but like I
No,
just
use camp because I think camp is the perfect word for this.
yeah, it's gonna be camp. Like there's like the Yeti, like we're running from the Yeti. It's like the 1950s in like a campground. I think it's so creative and I have no idea where they're gonna go with it, so I'm really excited to find out.
I completely agree with you. I also, again, not without spoiling too much of what's on our Patreon, but I do think that there's going to be a lot of like funny tie-in lore with this house. And I also, it's been released that there's going to be a family of Yetis in the house, which I think could be I like kind of like funny. Like a funny, if there's like a little kid Yeti tearing someone apart, I'm gonna laugh. I think that's
I will be laughing. I
it's
will be snickering.
this is going to be our humor house of the year, I think. But I'm really excited for this. And I love the campground setting. I think that's fun.
Yeah, super cute.
Um, number 6, you want to take it?
What you Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Sure.
Number 6 for me is another original. It's one that
Okay.
we've already talked about in depth on our Patreon.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
have Blood Moon Dark Offerings as my number 6.
Very good. That is not my number 6. So,
Oh, I'm surprised. Yours is up higher. So basically, go subscribe to the Patreon and then listen to the Blood Moon Dark Offerings for a deep dive on the lore behind this house. But I think this might be my favorite setting out of all of them because it's like supposed to be colonial slash like pilgrim vibes.
oh yeah.
More colonial, right? I'm not sure which.
Yeah, colonial.
Um, yeah. It reminds me of like the Salem witch trials sort of in a
Right.
way, which I'm excited about. And I love the backstory behind it. I think it's so well like fleshed out, no pun intended. My reasoning for putting this lower is because I think it's going to be super gory, and I think you said that too. And
Yeah.
if it gets a little too gory, I'm going to be a little grossed out. So I just didn't. I'm not as excited for it as some of the other ones, but I'm super excited for it.
I gotcha. I totally understand. My
Your
number
number 6?
6, yeah, my number 6 is paining me that I had to put it this low because I know you put this one really high, and I am also really excited for this house. It's going to be Monsters Unmasked. Universal's Monsters Unmasked. I know. And I just think the whole Paris setting is going to be so cool. And we're going to get to meet some of like, I guess like the B-list monsters from Universal that don't usually
I
make
love that.
they don't usually make like an appearance in the haunted houses that Universal's like heavy hitters do, like Frankenstein or like Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon. Yes, those are the heavy hitters. Now it's the like little monsters time to shine, right? And we're gonna be in the Paris catacombs. It's going to be really cool. I couldn't put any of the other houses lower, so it had to
It's
fall into the number 6 spot. And again, that's like number 6 is freaking good because
yes,
you know
because number 7 is really good. Like we're so excited for all of them. It's hard. It's hard.
it's so hard. This ranking took me probably, I would say, and I've changed it since my original ranking because I was like, oh, I can't put that there. But we stay strong, we move on.
This is our fantasy football season.
Exactly. This is our Super Bowl, baby.
Exactly. Okay, number 5. Give me your number 5.
Okay, my number 5, and honestly, this would not have gone as high for me if I didn't know if I had not done a deep dive into the lore. It's Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins. So I know that's kind of surprising because I'm really a lore girl this year, but
Yeah.
Twisted Origins, I think it's going to be really cool to see like how Dr. Oddfellow became the Dr. Oddfellow that we're now seeing at the event. I think we're going to get a couple of Easter eggs from some other icons that are going to be featured in the house. The carnival theme, not that it doesn't do it for me because I do love a good carnival spooky event, but I just think that the other original houses, the other IPs that I have left are gonna be more exciting for me. And that pretty much wraps up Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins for me. Again, I think it's going to be a phenomenal house. I think the story is going to be really cool. I think the scenery, having you enter from under the bleachers, which kind of plays along with the story, is going to be like a really fun little detail. But
Yeah.
I feel like I keep having to like explain myself, but
You don't need, no one's gonna judge.
that's where I have to put it. All right, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is gonna make you mad because it is Dueling Dragons.
Okay, I'm not mad.
So I did Dueling Dragons number 5 because I think it's so cool. I'm so excited for it. It's based on a roller coaster. Is this
Yes.
correct? Like an old roller coaster that they used to have.
Mhm.
Okay. I love the wizard and the dragon vibe. I love how it's choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how it's going to be scary, how they're going to make it scary. Or maybe it's just me not having ever been to Halloween Horror Nights. Maybe not every house is necessarily scary, but it's more just like fun. Like maybe it's not necessarily haunted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you're going to be pleasantly, unpleasantly surprised by how scary they make every single house.
Oh, okay. See that? Okay, that makes me excited.
They
I
have
think this
one.
one's
Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
They managed to make the one based on Tooth Fairy's scary as hell, so I don't. It's just
Never
like
underestimate.
they've got a twisted mind there. I think this one to me seems like it's going to be more jump scare heavy, but that's all I'm going to say about it.
Okay.
No.
Yes. Yeah, so I think that I love this one. I put it at number 5 because I'm super excited for it. But the other 4 that I have on here, I'm just a little bit more excited for.
I know. And this is where it got so hard for me. And I'm actually going to change. I'm going to swap around my 3 and 4 on the fly, I think. Do you want to take 4? Oh no, where'd you go?
Okay. Go on. Yeah, I'll take 4. And guess what? I'm also switching up. I'm here. Sorry, our interconnection. Oh, it said my internet connection was unstable. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you now.
Uh-oh. Okay, cool. So I Is it being weird?
No, you're good.
Okay. So my number three and number four, I'm actually also switching out real quick. Um,
Interesting.
which I know is a little bit controversial, but I originally had Oddfellows Twisted Origins as number three. But now
Okay.
that I've heard your thing, and I also thought about it, all the scare zones are going to be. I'm slightly less excited just because I'm like, I know that the rest of it is going to be Oddfellow themed, right? But I think it's going to be awesome. You know, I love that carnival theme and stuff.
Yeah.
So I had to put it at number four. I had to do a quick little switcheroony.
I also did a little switcheroony. And I moved Blood Moon Dark offerings from my three to my four. So
Okay.
for the reason that, yes, I think this house is going to be incredibly gory. I'm not an excess, like I can handle gore, but I don't like it when it's excessive. And so I think that this house is going to be very bloody. Obviously, Blood Moon Dark Offerings is going to be bloody. But I also think that this scenery is going to be freaking beautiful, just based on the Discover Universal podcast. And also, I do think that colonial eras, like Salem witch vibes, like it strikes a chord with me. I'm very
Yeah.
excited to see this house. And I know it's been falling like a little bit lower on other people's hype lists. I have to say, it's it's up there for me. This has potential to be top three after the event, I think.
Yeah. I think that people are going to be surprised at how good it is.
Agreed. All right, we're in our top three.
Top three. Top three. These were hard. My third is Stranger Things 4, which I
Mine
know.
too.
Oh my gosh, really? Okay,
Mine
okay.
too.
Interesting. Okay, give me your reasoning. Give me your reasoning.
So my reasoning for putting this at three, and I think it's going to come as a shock to anyone who knows me personally that listens to this podcast,
Yeah,
because I am a huge Stranger Things fan. I think it is one of the best shows of all time. I think the Duffer Brothers really did a great job with it. And I think that this house is going to be a very interesting perspective, like take on the season, because we're seeing the entire season,
right.
apparently, it's speculated from Vecna's point of view. So, and Vecna
No
is like
way.
yeah. So we're going to be in his like lair for a lot of the time, which I think could make for a really cool ambiance. But also, Vecna is not, I guess he's like not as scary to me as like, I don't know, like The Exorcist, I think would be really scary. Or like I think Yeti Campground Kills like has the potential to be also really scary. It's not as scary as like one of my top two houses, I will say. But I do think Stranger Things 4 is going to be for the fans. Like, I can't foresee it being super duper scary. And I think that's almost why I'm going to like it to enough to put it in the number three spot, because I think everyone can use a break from the excessive gore every once in a while. And I think that there's a lot of scenery like the Creel house and the lair and Hawkins that we're going to be able to see, which I'm really, oh, and the Russian prison. I'm very
Oh, I
excited for the
completely
scenery
forgot
in
about
this
the rush.
house. They said in Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood that there was like an outdoor part that someone caught from an aerial view with barbed wire around the thing, and they were thinking that that was the Russian prison. So I think we're gonna get
Oh,
some Russian prison scenes.
that's awesome. I completely agree with all of your reasoning. I am surprised that you put it at number three just because I
Yeah.
know you love Stranger Things so much. I also very much enjoyed the show. Um, I'm so excited. I feel like very special that I'm going to a Halloween Horror Nights that has a Stranger Things
Me
house because
too.
isn't that it's, right? Because like people were freaking out, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's and now that you say it's from Vecna's perspective, like that brings a whole other layer to it. I'm
Uh-huh.
really excited about it. I think that clock noise is terrifying.
Yes,
Um,
me too.
and I think that there's yeah, right? And I think there's a lot of like
Freaky.
I don't know. I'm really very excited how that one goes.
Okay, so we both have one left that could be our potential number one.
Yes, we do.
Do you want
What
to
are
get
your, besides Last of Us, what?
mine is Dueling Dragons.
Oh, I know what yours is. I know what,
Yeah,
yes, okay.
I may as well just say Dueling Dragons is my number two. So I am a fairy girl. Sam and I were both fairy girls, and apparently the majority of this house takes place in like a fairy woods, which is really neat. I think it's such a unique take on a house to do four different possible endings. So you can either choose like fire and ice, and either fire could win or it could lose, or either ice could win or it could lose. So you're getting four different paths through this house, and you are the chooser of your own fate. Also, I really liked choose your own adventure books growing up, so this house I think is going to be more nostalgic for me than anything. I
Yes.
also loved the Dueling Dragon ride growing up, especially when they converted it into the Harry Potter theme and they had like the Triwizard Tournament line. I thought that was really neat. I rode that a few times. I wasn't a huge roller coaster girl back in the day. I am now. But that one I was always down to go on.
Interesting. I didn't know the whole fairy part. I like that a lot,
Mhm.
actually.
And like you said, I'm not totally sure how scary this house is going to get. I think it's going to be a lot of jump scares and sound scares more so than like gore and any like scare, like truly scary concepts, because dragons don't really scare me all that much.
Yeah, me neither. And I think that it might be refreshing, like a refreshing change, kind of.
Agreed.
All the gore and the spook, right?
Yes. So tell us your number two. I knew you were going to put this high.
Um, so I don't know, which one do you think is my number two?
I think I know that your number two is um The Last of Us.
Yes.
Okay.
So like I felt so I'll explain my Monsters Unmasked thing soon, my obsession. But for now, let me just say The Last of Us, and obviously that's your number one. The show is amazing. The fungus stuff repulses me. It makes my skin crawl. Like I
Fair.
find that scarier. I find that scarier than like anything else, honestly, because I
Yeah.
feel like it's a realistic situation. The whole like fungus pandemic thing is a realistic situation. I hate the clickers. I hate all the different
Yeah.
infected people. Um, I think there's gonna be so many scary little jump scares.
Yeah.
I love how we're gonna be in that abandoned Pittsburgh, like urban jungle type of thing.
Yeah.
I love how they said in the description, like, don't make a sound if you want to survive. I
Ooh.
just think that adds a whole other layer. I know it adds a whole other layer. Like, you have to try and be quiet. I don't know how I'm going to stay quiet because that's terrifying.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be so freaking cool. And I feel so, again, just like the Stranger Things one, I feel so like special and cool that like we get to go to the
Yeah.
Halloween Horror Nights season that has Last of Us.
I completely agree. And to jump off of that, The Last of Us is my number one house that I'm most excited for, just because I recently watched the show and I did not expect to love it. We know that it's based off the video game. We know that.
Yes.
However, the Pittsburgh QZ that the game that this house is based off in the game is the Kansas City QZ in the show. And it follows the same plot line.
So which one?
So
So which one is that again?
that's the one where Joel and Ellie finally get their car and then they are driving through the QZ, but the QZ has Vedra has been taken over by that de facto faction of like, I guess they're not really raiders, they're just some sort of fighters. And the Kathleen, her brother had been killed by Sam and
Oh,
Henry.
she is literally so effing annoying.
I know. And
Oh my God, I hate her.
so we're going to be able to experience this defunct QZ. We're going to be able to experience the sewers, which I think is going to be really cool when they're traveling through the sewers. And we're also going to get, speculation, when they get to the edge of that Pittsburgh, Kansas City QZ, and there's that like abandoned house that Joel is using as kind of like a crow's nest, and then
Yes.
the entire thing breaks open and it's infected, and that's when we get our first glimpse of a bloater instead of just clickers and stalkers.
God.
I think that's going to be the finale of the house. So, without going into too much more detail, Naughty Dog, who is the producer of the game, has been partnering very closely with Universal on this. And they reached out to the voice actors of Ellie and Joel in the game and got them to record new lines just for exclusive use in this podcast. So that to me tells me that Universal went all out for this house, which is why it's my number one.
And honestly, you kind of have to like, this was such a big show. Like, this was like a cultural phenomenon. Like, even if you have never played a video game before in your life, like the TV show made sure that like I feel like everyone knows it and everyone's on board with it. So they had to go all out.
I agree. I also want to say a couple more things, actually, because I'm not done, because I'm so excited for this house. I'm not a zombie girl. I don't like zombie movies. I don't like zombie shows. This show blew my mind because of the cordyceps fungus and how it infects people. I love science-based stuff, and I was a sustainability major, so like the whole fact that climate change has played into this infection and this growing pandemic of these like virus, or I guess it's not virus, this fungal like zombie apocalypse is the coolest thing to me. I think that The Last of Us was scary without excessive gore, which I really appreciated, because I think sometimes horror movies, slasher movies, TV shows like this can fall back on gore as like, instead of having like a good plot, they can use some gore to like distract it. And I thought the plot was phenomenal. And lastly, but not least, I have never in my life ever been tempted to play a video game that was not Super Mario Galaxy. I very much so considered like trying to find a way to play this game, because I think I'm just gonna end up having to watch a walkthrough beforehand.
Right.
But I do not want to miss a single Easter egg in this house. I just think it is the coolest concept. I love the concept. I love the show. I love Pedro Pascal.
Yes.
And I think even like the tie-in food and the tie-in merch,
Yes.
this house to me seems like one that they put a lot of their energy into.
And I think that it's probably going to be, I have a feeling it's the majority of people are going to put it in like their top 3, right?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a very original number one, but I had to stay true to myself.
And also it's not an original number one for a reason, because everyone is excited for it.
Yeah.
Everyone is excited for it. I think they're going to do so. I think it's going to be like the house that like they talk about for like years and years to come and stuff.
Usually I feel like I would not have an IP as my like number one, because I love the original storylines, but this is a cool IP to have for our year.
Yeah, this is awesome. I'm so excited for Last of Us.
All right, I want to hear about Monsters Unmasked. I knew you were going to rank this one high.
Yes. So this one, I felt like
for one simple reason.
My one, so as you know, I am a musical theater girl through and through. And 75% of the monsters in this house have beautiful, beautiful scores and beautiful musicals written about them. The four monsters in this are the Phantom of the Opera, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, Jekyll and Hyde, and Invisible Man. I don't know what is up with Invisible Man. I don't know anything about him. Like, I literally know nothing about him, but he's invisible, so I guess he can't really be that scary. I love The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I love Phantom, and I love Jekyll and Hyde. They're all such great musicals,
So
and I
there you
feel like
go.
I know the stories so well because I listen to like the soundtracks all the time. So I guess I'm just excited to see, because of course in the musical they try to humanize them and show that like none of them are like fully monsters, even though like the Phantom is kind of like a jerk. But like it's gonna be so interesting to see them just like as like monsters chasing us that we're terrified of. And also the fact that it's in the Paris catacombs, like I've
Love it.
always, have you seen that movie As Above So Below?
No, but I want to
Have you
watch
seen
it.
that?
No, I want to watch it
Okay,
so bad though.
maybe we can watch it together this weekend because it's super scary and I think
I'm
you would
so
like
excited.
it.
Yes.
Um, but I think the Paris catacombs are so interesting and so spooky. So the fact that it's happening there, I'm like so excited for this one for some reason. I don't know
It's gonna be
why.
it's gonna be a cool house. That's why I was sad I had to rank it that low. And honestly, like looking at my list, it might overtake Twisted Origins for like the number 5 spot. But then
Oh.
I know, because the more I read about Monsters Unmasked, the more I am tempted to put it much higher.
And I do think it's gonna be again with like the camp thing. I feel like it might be camp, which I like,
I don't think
right?
so.
Like,
The only thing I'm concerned about being camp about this house is the Invisible Man.
yeah, I'm like, what is he from? I don't know what he is. Like,
I
what
don't
is that?
know, but I am thinking of um like R.L. Stein's The Invisible Boy in Goosebumps.
Okay.
And it was like he was like the comedic relief. So I kind of feel like it might be the same, but then also I feel like Universal expects us to think that that's going to be like the least scary part of the house. So they might try
Right.
to make that the scariest. I just don't know how they would do that.
Yeah, I don't know either. Like, I don't know. And I also think it's going to be so interesting. Like, I did not know that anyone considered Quasimodo like a monster. Like, I thought that he was like universally the good guy. And like Frollo was the bad guy. But like, I guess this isn't obviously this isn't based on the Disney version because
No, no, no,
clearly,
no.
right? They're competitors. Like, this is
No.
based on like the Victor Hugo novel, right? Like,
So
so
it's based off of, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
no,
all of
please
them are
tell
based
me.
off of Universal's classic monster movies, which also is a reason for me thinking that this one might end up ranking a lot higher because I love movies, I love movie history, I love horror movies, and Universal was kind of like the big one of the bigger companies that like broke into the horror genre and made it what it is today by
Right.
creating these monster movies. So they were kind of like the first of their kind. So the fact that we're seeing these guys in a house
All
instead
together.
exactly all together and like interacting instead of like the creature from the Black Lagoon, which is featured in popular media all the time, Dracula, which
Right.
is like I don't want to say done to death, but like a little bit done to death, right? So so I think that this rightfully deserves your number 1 spot, and I'm excited for this house too.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I like how we had very similar flows of
Agreed.
like lowest to highest. And genuinely, like you keep saying, all of these are going to be so fun.
Oh
And
my God.
I'm so excited to see how they compare to our final rankings after we go to Halloween Horror Nights.
I completely agree. So Sam and I will be at Halloween Horror Nights. We will be wearing identifiable merch. So make sure to come find us in the parks. We're going in mid-October, so keep an eye out for us then and come up to us, say hi. We would love to meet you guys. We're going to have a little friendship bracelet or a sticker for you. So please say hi. We love to meet you guys. And to hear some more backstory on the houses, some speculation, we're going to go over the map, which was actually released like a few hours ago, where all the houses are located in the parks, how they all connect. make sure you subscribe to our Patreon. Like we said, it's one less cup of coffee a month, and it just helps us keep up with the podcast and, keep creating content for all of you guys. Plus, you get a ton extra content from us. So if you like us, that's a way to get.
Let us know.
Yeah, exactly. That's a way to get more of us per month. And I think we've got some pretty good content on there. You get voting power for new episodes. You have easier access to talk to me and Sam. We will respond directly.
We have live streams.
We're going to try to get as much content out of this event as possible. So if you want some live streams from the event, you want pictures, you want outfits of the day, you want food reviews, you want a review of the hotel that we're staying at, the shower water pressure, the hotel food when we get in off our night flight, the Uber to and from MCO to our hotel.
You will get the softness of the toilet paper, how many plies it is. We'll have it all, baby.
The best bathroom to use in the parks. You already know. You want to know what merch we bought? Sure. How much it cost? Sure. Yeah. We're going to give you the breakdown plus taxes.
You can see my bank account. You can see my social security number. Just
you want our social security number? Just ask. Just subscribe to the Patreon.
Subscribe to the Patreon and ask in the private chat, and we'll give it to you as long as you promise not to use it. Thank you.
Next thing you know, you're going to be like enrolled in the army.
That would be a bad thing for the army. I feel bad for the army.
Yeah. 12 new credit cards opened up under your name. Yeah. Maybe not social security number, but hey, who knows? Maybe we'll give you our phone number so you can like text us. Be like, yo, what up?
Oh, it's getting crazy up in here.
Anyway, we hope you guys liked this new. Oops, sorry, what'd you say?
I was just gonna say next time we're talking to you guys, we'll be together in person. So that's gonna be
stop it right now. I'm so excited. I can't wait to be back with you.
It's gonna be awesome.
I can't wait. All right, everyone. Hope you liked this super special episode. Make sure you're subscribing to the Patreon. We appreciate each and every one of our Patreons. Plus, little extra incentive, you get a shout out on our next episode if you give us permission to use your name. So that's just a little 5 seconds of fame for you. A little way to show our appreciation. I
was like, fame.
Fame, to our followers. But anyway, hope you guys have a great night, or day, or morning, or whatever. Whatever. But stay spooky, and till next time, we're just two ghouls creeping it real. So, bye.
Bye.